Welcome back to class, everybody. It is a bloody sandy day in our neighborhood, and we are talking today about ranged weaponry. Now, traditionally, I was going to make this episode just throwing weapons, but then I figured, you know what? Why not add the bows and other ranged weapons in here too? Because bows are an incredible thing on the battlefield. In a survival situation, they're silent, very deadly, and accurate with practice. Incredibly, not easy to make, but definitely a doable thing. I really wish this game had slings in it that you could use, but I guess chain physics and like rope physics would be a little difficult to work into the game. Sure, I got an itchy nose again. I really hope that's not a constant thing today, but we'll see. Ooh, that's a pretty knife. There you go. Any moving right along, let's start with what I got on the table, and then we'll move on to what I got on the rack. First up is the kunai, a very famous throwing weapon from Japan. Now, this isn't too accurate to what a real kunai would look like. I know Naruto actually does it better, and that pains me to say, but it is that massive diamond head. And the reason is that knife is actually used for masonry, like carpentry and stonemasonry. And the reason the ninjas loved them so much was because you could carry it on your belt loop and nobody'd like give you a sideways glance, walk through town with his knife. They'd look at you and go, "Oh, he's probably some sort of laborer here to work on the castle." And then you walk into the castle, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's just a laborer here to work on the castle, probably." And you walk right up to the Lord, you just fucking shove him in the neck, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, he was an assassin!" Yeah, sorry, I choked on my words there. Next up, with a shuriken. A bit more difficult to use, but because it's bladed on all sides, as long as you got it going straight at your opponent, all right, it's gonna stick. And that's what made throwing stars like this really fucking deadly in the hands of skilled assassins. They just have to throw it in a straight line on a level flight path, and it's guaranteed to stick or slice into your opponent. The next is called a balanced knife by the game, and what that means is that the knife is weighted good for throwing. So a throwing knife, you want most of your weight dead in the... Oh, Jesus, I just switched hands. You want most of your weight here in the middle of the knife so that it rotates quickly. Too much weight here, and the handle is going to be spinning around the blade. I just punched myself in the face. You're going to be spinning around the blade, and there's a good chance the handle's going to bonk off. Too much weight here on the end, and the head will be spinning around the handle, and it's going to hit something like this, and it's not going to slide in. You want the weight here in the center so that both ends are rotating, so you have a lot more chance of a level slide into your opponent. Moving on to the wall, I've got 3 types of bows here from 3 different countries. First up is the composite bow, most often used in Saudi Arabia, and the drawing a blank here, like the steppes of like Mongolia and whatnot, by the horse-mounted archers. They were famous for using these kinds of bows for deadly accuracy and crazy efficiency. Can I? Will it even? No, it won't even let me hold it upside down. It just won't. Now my tracking is terrible for bows, so sadly I don't know how well I'm going to do with a bow. Next up is the longbow of Germania and England. The longbow was so beautiful. And now this game calls it a warbow, but I mean, look at the length of this thing. Hold on, get back here, you. Yeah, that's a 6-foot bow. That is a longbow. What made the longbow so deadly was that when you drew it back to its full length. Now, I'm not going to dry fire it even in a game, man. Discipline. When you fire a longbow like this, the arrow moves farther than even a crossbow could shoot, and a trained archer could fire probably 4 or 5 arrows in the time it took a crossbowman to fire a single one and reload, which meant that they rivaled crossbows on the battlefield, which crossbows were thought to be like an OP weapon on the battlefield. Now you're rivaling it with this longbow. Hunters could use it to drop deer. Some longbows were known to have 80-pound pull on them, which is enough to punch a bodkin arrow, of which I... Oh, that's the broadhead arrow. Never mind. Which was enough enough sheer force to drive one of these bodkin needles through plate mail. Now, I'm going to get into the arrows in just a second. Our last one here is a Yumi bow used in What did I grab? Used in Japan. These long-ass bows used an asymmetrical design here, where you can see I'm holding it a lot closer to the bottom than the top. But again, this is another... Now, this one calls it a daiku. That might be the actual name. I just know them as Yumi bows. Holding it like this, offset using the geometry of the bow, allowed for very accurate, very deadly shots. And the Japanese war bow could punch right through the lamellar armor. You could fire a volley of arrows, just hailing arrows down on your opponent to eradicate them. I've got my two axes, the Francesca, the regular throwing and the Francescas. Here I've got war darts, which war darts were used. If I could get a dart out of view, thank you. Now these have fletching on them. So part of me thinks I could load this on an arrow, but true war darts were actually like throwing darts. Like you'd hold it here and you'd wing it and it would stick into your opponent. Kind of like that. They were oftentimes used by infantrymen, but a massive dart like that would probably go best with a scorpion, which is like a crossbow turret kind of thing. It was mounted. You'd have this wheel. Instead of trying to pull the string back or roll the string back like manually or whatever, you'd pull the trigger, you'd fire your dart, you'd get these two cogs and you'd roll the cogs back towards yourself, and that would reload the string. So you could fire a lot faster because you didn't actually have to like put the crossbow on the ground, step through the thing and pull. You could just wheel, 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 thunk, wheel, 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 thunk, and they were called scorpions. They were later called mobile ballistas, I think was the name, but scorpion is their more famous name. They were incredibly efficient against infantry, not so good against like other weapons of war, but they were carried in two parts and usually manned by a crew of 3. Next up are javelins, which I still am so sad I didn't include in my spear episode. The javelins can be thrown. That's their whole purpose. But another beautiful thing about javelins is that you can, with a single javelin and a shield, you've now got yourself a short spear. So if you have a bundle of like 4 of these on your back, which is what like the hoplites and other pelletists would carry, they could fight with these should their dory break. But more importantly, they'd stick their dory in the ground, get these off their back, and wing these at the enemy, and then just pick their dory back up. I've used them on stream before as like when the enemy's right in front of me, I just give it a little toss to try and get them while they're like 3 feet out of my reach. All right, we're going to move on to these actual arrows here. First, we're going to talk about the broadhead arrows, which is getting stuck on everything. So a broadhead arrow, which is a brutal looking broadhead, they are meant to cause a wide hole, kind of like my Celt Leaf spear. Here's a photo. Thank you, Jake. Those wide heads there were meant to inflict as much bleeding as possible. Not to mention pulling the arrow back out, there's a good chance it's going to cut and tear because of these wide flangs here. So this was mostly a hunting arrow, but on the battlefield was definitely brutal against lightly armored opponents or against heavier armored opponents, depending on the power of your bow. Now, I keep throwing around the powers of bows. I'll get to that right after I'm done with my arrows. Next up is the bodkin arrow. The bodkin arrow was actually used by the Germanics and the Vikings solely to combat chainmail. It is a beautiful diamond tip here. I'm going to see if I can't float it. So there you go. Nice, beautiful diamond tip. Nice little pyramid that when used... Now, this one's a pyramid, but more traditionally, they would actually be a full square diamond, and they'd look a bit like a railroad tie, if you know what one of those are. I'm just going to heavy infuse you so you really don't go anywhere. There we go. And then kind of rotate you. Oh, too much rotate. Come back here. Here. Meh. Meh, meh. 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 Alright. But anywho, that kind of... too much... Get out of here. Let me just get another one. There we go. That kind of point there would be able to drive clean through the ring of a chainmail. Yeah, look at that. I can just push that right through. It'd drive right through the ring of the chainmail and break the ring and go right into the body. It could also go through plate mail if you had like 80 pounds or more behind it. And again, I keep saying pounds. I don't know if you guys know what I mean by that. The poundage of a bow was how many pounds of force you're hitting your opponent with. So an 80-pound bow means that that arrow has 80 pounds of force the moment it leaves the bow. With a broadhead, that would go right through and through a person's body, definitely into a deer. Usually for hunting deer, which are, you know, a big animal, a large game animal. For hunting, like, and I don't mean like your Germanic roe deer. Roe deer are like the size of a German shepherd. I'm talking like whitetail and blacktail deer, which are like this tall. The head's probably up to here, you know, or even taking down a moose. You only need like 55 to 60 pounds of draw with a good broadhead. But some warbows hit 80 because of the sheer range you got to get on that thing. You're firing miles away at an opponent. Now, in IRL, I'm a dead shot with a bow. I have myself a 35 to 40 pound recurve bow, kind of shaped like this composite bow here. That's recurve. I got myself a recurve bow, and I can land an arrow in a milk jug from about 50 yards away. Because, you know, I shoot all the fucking time. Well, I used to. I used to shoot all the time. Ever since I've had Bonnie and I've had my own house and I was living in the city for a while, I couldn't really shoot. I want to get out and I want to shoot more. I want to get back into practice with it. I want to get good with my bow again. I want to teach Bonnie how to shoot a bow. I think that would be the greatest moment of my life as a dad. Anywho, in game, my tracking doesn't really play well with it. So, I mean, we're going to see how this goes. I'm going to use the bodkin arrows because I like them more. Don't know why it's making me hold it upside down. So I got my bow here, and all I got to do is draw, hit. Jesus, that glance! That went bing, bing, bing. All right, let me try and hit the barrel. Okay, I'm not too inaccurate. Oh, tracking, please. All right, I might actually be able to do this. On my hip, I'm going to carry some of these. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use the shurikens. Nope. I'm going to take the shurikens on this hip, and on my other hip, I'm going to take the war darts. Oh, okay, no, I'm not, because that is right in my face. Ooh, you know what? Oh, that's still terrible. Why are you so terrible? See, part of me... Alright, I'll just hold the bow. Part of me wanted to do it so I could, like, draw one of these bodkin arrows and be like, pachoom, and then be like, fuck you, dude, war dart, katunk, and just plant a war dart into somebody's chest. I do want to use a bow in this game, because I'm IRL, again, I'm amazing with a fucking bow, but my tracking in-game is so terrible. Because normally I hold the bow in this hand, because I'm a lefty, and I draw like that, but as you see, the tracking just fights me. The tracking fights me as a lefty. But I'm gonna do my best. All right. I got my throwables. I got some of my other weaponry. I'm using the longbow because I like the longbow more. A composite bow typically at a faster fire rate, but didn't have the same range. We're gonna be doing this against one guy. I should probably be doing the throwing episode in a place a bit larger than our beautiful classroom, but it's a little too late for that now. Whoa, arrow! What are you doing? Heh. Well, I got him. Holy shit! So the bodkin arrow went right through his skull, right through the eye. He did not last long. Let's try that again, shall we? Ah. Ah. Right in the neck. So yeah, arrows are very deadly. One of the reasons why shields were so fucking prevalent in the world wasn't actually to fight in hand to hand. The reason shields were so prevalent was to stop you from dying to an arrow volley. Oh, that war dart, man. It went through his body completely. Yeah, those war darts are no joke. I mean, look at that shit. Into stone. I don't even think my bodkins can do that. Whoa, Jesus. No, my bodkins are either hitting the metal. There we go. Nope, they can't even stick into the stone. They don't have the weight that the war darts possess. Alright, I'm gonna hang the bow up real quick. And I'm gonna go... I'm gonna hang the arrows up. Give me my arm back. There we go. Now I'm gonna try some of the throwing weaponry. And the reason I'm using unarmored opponents is because throwing weapons weren't as great against the heavily armored. Ting. I'm a really bad thrower. There we go. Whoa. Alright, getting a javelin out. So you can use a javelin, and then you could throw it. Decorate his body with those. The javelin can be used either to fight or to throw. So I'm gonna showcase that real quick. I can use the javelin as a thrusting weapon the same way I'd use a spear. See, in through his arm. But quit walking towards me when I'm trying to be educational. I can turn it around and throw them. Oh. I'm missing everything. Ooh, I got an idea. Crazy idea. War dart. Oh my god, did I really kill you by stabbing you with a war dart? Those war darts do damage, dude. I might actually need some of these. See, he holds them like arrows, though, so the game obviously intends them to be arrows. But they'd be thrown like that, and they'd stick into the opponent. I'll even read you their description. Here we go. An early medieval throwing dart, heavily inspired by arrows of the time, can be thrown a fair distance thanks to the feathers on the end. So yeah, if I was to take one, they were inspired by arrows, but they were not arrows. I wonder if I could just... Oh, he auto-corrects the throw, so it goes head first. Oh, that's terrible. Now, they've got some wobble, causing him to throw them, like, straight down. But I'm sure with... Oh, I just almost Robin Hooded that one. I'm sure with some practice, I could get really good at throwing these at somebody. Anywho, I'll stick with my shurikens, thank you very much. Getting pretty good at that. You throw it like a frisbee, and it goes pretty well. I'm gonna do one more. Just because I've never really fucked around with throwing weapons before. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Whoa! Ha! 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 Yeah. Yeah, shurikens are deadly on all sides. So you don't have to worry IRL about throwing a shuriken and having it spin wrong. The bows in this game, I really want to be good with. I really do. What are you doing way up here? You're my bodkin arrows, right? Oh yeah, because I put you up there, didn't I? I'm gonna use broadhead arrows. Hold on. Come here, dart bundle. Come here, bodkin or broad. Yeah. There we go. We'll do a little bit more archery. This time I'm going to be using my opposing side. Just because, oh my god, game. Yeah. Holy shit! I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to do that shot again in my life. Oh my god. I did say they were better at cutting, but that's not what I meant when I said the wider head left a wider cut. Oh my god. Oh my god, and with that, class dismissed. Oh.